other than that, I think she was consensual. Only because of the way that she would snuggle up to him and rub him on the shoulder.
Yeah.
I wonder if that girl got pregnant.
All right, it's time to talk about Stephan Sterns, the case, and all this latest information that the docket and I received. Both of us got it on the same day. I know I've been trying to get this info for more than a year. So let's listen to Stephan Sterns' mom call me a crazy lady and a twit in the April 11th, 2024 audio. Gotta change that. I realized I just wrote 2025. April 11th, 2024 audio. So it's been released to us a couple of interviews with Stephan Sterns' parents, Chris and Deborah Sterns, down in Florida, and we got body cam footage. So you might have watched what I've already put up. What was it? February 28th, when cops approached Deborah. She was still at the house in Northport. Chris was up with still dealing with Jennifer Soto, I guess, Madeline Soto's mother, and by then Stephan Sterns is in jail. But 228 body cam, a lot of it's redacted, and Deb is going off about this F torso she found, silicone, in her son Stephan's room. 38-year-old son, she was doing his laundry. She found that. They're looking for Maddie. That's why the cops were like, is Maddie here? You know, is she here?
I found this.
Yeah.
Okay. It's in the trash can.
And
If you want it, I'll give it to you.
This is your son, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Ma'am, the torso that you speak of,
It's silicone.
A lot of stuff is redacted. When they go inside the house, all the audio, all the videos redacted. So we just see cops outside. I'm glad they caught something of Deb outside, freaking out, genuinely upset. So that was the 28th body cam video. There were 2 of those, so I can upload those raw on my Patreon for those who want to get the raw footage. But yeah, I did edit it up last night into like a small 26-minute video you guys can watch without all the dead space. But I know some people love the raw footage, so that's why I upload a lot of it over there. So, okay, we have those 2 body cams at Deb's house. And then we have another February 28th body cam, which basically there's nothing on there. It was taken at the storage unit facility down there. Cops weren't sure if Stephan had visited that facility or not. So a lot of that visual I'm just going to put under the audio of some audio interviews.
Northport 3 over 10. Thank you.
You do your thing. All right. I appreciate you.
So now the audio interviews, now one of them is from March 1st.
Today's date is March 1st, at 17:40 p.m. Myself, Detective St. Jean, and Detective Snug, in reference to an agency assist with Orange County.
You and your wife again too about it. Can I ask everything here? Oh no, we were hoping to talk with you and your wife again about the other day.
We're going to chat about that real quick since I haven't given my commentary yet. I just gave it to you guys pretty much straight in one of my previous videos so you could just hear it first. But now we can talk about it together. March 1st, unfortunately, that was the day. It was a Friday. Maddie was found. It's crazy that these officers were at Deb and Chris's home interviewing them when Chris gets a call from Orange County Sheriff's Office letting him know, an officer letting him know that Maddie was found, recovered. So we get to hear their reaction. And then after we listen to these snippets, we'll go over the entire April 11th, 2024 interview. This one, oh my goodness, I had to pray over this one.
The stuff that's on here goes back to 2011.
To 2011? Yeah.
Wasn't happy to see that.
No.
You know, if she felt like she was being abused, Of course, she was being abused because she's not old enough to consent. But other than that, I think she was consensual, only because of the way that she would snuggle up to him and rubbing on the shoulder.
Yeah, I mean,
Maybe she did just get used to it. I don't know.
Deb, you know, she can be pretty infuriating with some of the stuff she says, and still I'm trying to understand her, you know, as a mama bear, that aspect coming out of her. Her instinct to protect Stephan, her son, but, you know, not at the expense of Maddie getting her justice. Now, mind you, the Sterns, as I understand it, they do not feel this way anymore. Their son was lying to them a lot, you know, misdirecting them, blaming other people. So it's no wonder that initially they felt differently. So listen to this with those caveats in mind. But at one point I still can't. Something Deb says, something she says about Maddie, it's so heartbreaking. She's saying, we'll get to it, but she's kind of inferring, she's saying, okay, I know the girl couldn't consent. She wasn't old enough to consent, but you know, the way she was like rubbing his shoulders and everything and snuggling up to him, it's like it was consensual. It's very infuriating, especially, you know, trigger alerts for survivors out there. Deb is looking to understand her son's warped behavior. In some ways, she's making a lot of excuses for him, but it's a journey. In other ways, they really did do the right thing. Deb and Chris turned over certain jump drives, hard drives to the police. That's what the April 11th interview is about. The cop is coming there to collect this stuff that other entities had not collected. You know, Chris let them know. I think he let Kissimmee know. He said March 19th, there's this stuff Stephan left down here. And when we get to the point where Chris is like, I didn't really look at what was on here. I just saw like the thumbnails and the file name descriptions. You know, some stuff I did like blur out when they're talking about CP as they call it, or CSAM. But they talked about, oh, I saw the name, Layla, 5 years old. I mean, that just made my heart drop. So anyway, let's get through this. Let's talk first about this February 28th, 2024 body cam video. Deborah's really upset. Some people are like, is she faking or what? She sounds very upset. You know, they're looking for Maddie. Prior to this, supposedly she was in the woods somewhere calling out Maddie's name. That's the body cam video I wanted to see. When those officers arrived, supposedly Deb was like calling out Maddie, like seeing if she was in the woods or somewhere. I didn't hear that part unless it's been redacted or whatever, unless it was that, you know, pretty female officer, the one we see her on camera. I don't know if we see her body cam perspective ever, but they're asking her, how long have you been basically sitting on this house? And she says something like 7 minutes or whatever.
Stephan at the 1017.
Hey,
what's up?
So what do you guys know?
Huh?
What do you guys know?
I just know what Commander Myers said. They have the 1017 in custody in Orlando. Supposedly we're supposed to come here and interview the mother.
Okay.
See if we can do a protective sweep of the house and then maybe ask her questions about if Stephan had access to the storage units today.
Alright, well that's his car. That car comes back to him.
Okay.
So the other vehicle comes back to Dad, and then Mom is in the house. We just saw her in the front door, and she was out earlier when we were driving by.
Okay.
So.
How long have you guys been sitting on this?
7-10 minutes.
Oh.
So maybe her camera footage was the one that caught Deb, you know, acting a fool and calling Maddie out in the woods or something, but I haven't seen that yet. Deb is really upset. She tells them she found an F torso, you know, in Stephan's room, and another little toy too. And those photos I did not put up here on YouTube. I didn't see the one toy she mentions, but I did see the torso, and it's silicone. You know, the cop has to verify, wait, what are you talking about? Is she here? You know, he's like basically asking, did you find Maddie? Or she clarifies it's a silicone torso. Whew, she's like, you don't know what I found.
Oh, what?
Okay.
Okay. Scared the living shit out of me.
That's the extent of it?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't want to downplay it.
Oh, well, I found this.
Those photos are over on Patreon. It just shows the torso, and it shows like a plastic bag over it, so you can't really tell, but sometimes you don't know how YouTube is going to react, so I put them over there. I've heard some horror stories about what YouTube has done to some other YouTubers in showing stuff like this. So that's over there. And I'm like, okay, you found all that in Stephan's room. Did you ever find that mouse droid, that popcorn receptacle he keeps going on on about in your jail calls. By the way, I'm still waiting for jail calls. As you notice when we go through these latest interviews, they mention calls and they mention stuff that we've only read about and haven't heard about. But this stuff takes a long time. I've been waiting on these video and audio and documents. I've got documents too. I'll put them on Patreon. For more than a year, I've been waiting on them. There's like this email string of like 32 emails going back and forth between me and this particular, records department. They ended up charging me and the docket like $290 combined for this stuff. They told the docket YouTuber nobody had paid the invoice. And I'm like, what? I had to search through stuff yesterday like, okay, he paid 145 plus, I paid 145 plus. Maybe they'll charge everyone 145 plus for this evidence. I don't know. I don't know how it's going to go down, but I've been like requesting it. It was like no responsive records at first because it was really early on in the case. Then I'm like hitting them back like, wait, still no responsive records? Then they gave me some documents. And then when I wanted more evidence, these actual videos, the interviews, the audios, whatever they had, then we finally ended up getting it. It was so many people in line in front of me. And then we got to it. I don't know what the confusion was with nobody paid this invoice when we both ended up paying it. So now the docket called, I guess, and they're saying, okay, it was just split between me and him. Whatever. Find all this stuff if you want it raw over on Patreon. But here are some of the March 1st, 2024 interview highlights as I can make them out prior to us listening to that whole April 11th, 2024 audio interview, which I have not put yet here on YouTube. So this is it. Deb will call me a twit later in the next one. But for the March 1st one, cops, you can kind of hear him say something about your son, just him traveling back here. They're telling Chris, you may not know this, so this is late February 28th. It's a Wednesday. Stephan has already had that perp walk. He's going off to jail. Him and Jennifer had those long interviews at OCSO, the ones we've seen. He falls asleep and asks for, should I be talking to an attorney and all that. It's after that has happened. So they're going down there. Police are talking to his parents to see, what's up? Did you guys know Stephan traveled down here to Northport?
Just him traveling back here.
Your second hand, that's evidence here.
Orange County guys.
Yeah, I was at the hotel until I was up at 6:30. I wanted to get to the office by 8 o'clock before the 8:30 meeting, and so that's like a 20-minute ride. So I'm pretty sure I left just around 8 o'clock thereabouts. So as far as I knew, everybody was tucked in bed at 3:15 when I left them.
Sure.
I was on the opposite ends. I had no idea where they were parked. I had to find the last parking spot out in 40 acres out. But I had no idea that Stephan had left the hotel until 9:45 Wednesday morning.
Okay, until 9:45. So
yeah.
Was that, how did you find out? Was it the
Told me.
Okay.
Apparently, they were none the wiser. Chris is saying, I had no idea Stephan had left the hotel until 9:45 Wednesday morning. That's when he found out.
He called me to ask if Stephan was with me. And I said, no. Why? Well, he's not in the room. I said, well, how long has he been gone?
Plunder.
25 minutes. I said, okay. We'll go down the lobby and find out if he's in the lobby. So then I hung up and I called back and I go, are your car keys there? And she looked around and said, no. Okay. Then much later in the day, I found out it was more than like 45 minutes. Because she said she woke up at 9. She called me at 9:45. Oh. So then I said, okay, it was really 45 minutes. Which kind of blew me away because the last time I saw Stephan at 3:15, he looked physically, mentally drained.
Sure.
And I figured they both had, and that they were both going to crash and burn hard. And my son, it'd be 100 years before he'd get up.
Sure.
But obviously, shows you how much I knew.
Sure. Yeah, and
I was blown away when the detective told me that, asked me what exit number I lived at, and I said, 179, what road is that? I said, Toledo Blade. And he said, well, we have evidence that Stephan was exiting at 7:45 this morning.
Right.
Well, the storage unit's off at Toledo Blade too.
So, yes. So I did some math and figuring out, well, 2.5 hours, 3 hours, he had to leave, I think, like at 4:30 to get down there at 7:45. God forbid what the traffic would be like out of Orlando on I-4, the intersection of 75
At that time.
and then Sarasota.
Yeah.
You got three of those. And when I came home Wednesday, Thursday, and I'm looking at the northbound traffic, 2 times I saw huge lines of traffic stalled. And I said, he must have had the luck of Irish with him or something going back north, because you never know what to experience, especially trying to get back during rush hour, what have you. Then he came back and he came back to the hotel room about between 11:15 and 11:30, because by that time I was over there.
Okay.
Because they called and said, hey, we're going to come over and we'll be at the hotel in an hour. I go, oh shit. Okay, he's not going to be there. There's going to be a bolo out for him, whatever.
Right.
And then he showed up, and then the police never showed up. So I said, okay, that was a ruse. They were checking to see if she would say, well, he's not here.
Sure.
So she didn't say that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you.
Chris is talking about Jen, and this is another thing. So many shady red flags with Jennifer Soto. Chris says this about Jen. You know, Jen had given Chris, Stephan's dad, a call some point saying, do you know where Stephan is? And this is Wednesday morning. Chris is like, no, isn't he with you? He's like, how long has Stephan been gone? This surprised me. Jen told him something like,
He's been gone 25 minutes. I said, okay.
25 minutes. And I was like, what? 25 minutes? I mean, he had been gone a lot longer, but Jen is claiming he was only gone for about 25 minutes. Chris is going to say, actually, he was gone for 45 minutes, but in reality, I think he was gone a lot longer. Whatever time Stephan woke up Wednesday morning, drove probably like a bat out of hell, beat it down to Northport, Florida, from Kissimmee, from the hotel. But Jen is claiming, oh, I was so asleep, I didn't know. Remember previous interviews, we heard her say, oh, her tummy might have been upset. Stephan's tummy was really upset. He was in the bathroom, whatever. I can verify he was there until about 3 something, whatever. Okay. And she claims she didn't hear him leave some loud hotel door room. You know how loud those doors are. I'm sure even if you try and do it quietly, it's pretty loud. She's claiming, oh, she didn't hear him leave. But then she wakes up and he's gone. And he doesn't come back until 11 something. In the meantime, cops were calling saying, we'll be there in an hour. And Jen's freaking out like, do you know where Stephan is? Oh, he's been gone for 25 minutes. Now, to me, that's an out and out lie. Because if I woke up and my man wasn't there and I had no idea what time he left, like Jennifer claims, I wouldn't say, oh, he's been gone 25 minutes. I would say, I have no idea how long he's been gone. So many red flags, but the cops never ended up showing up. Now, they were worried, like Chris says, they'll put out a bolo on you. You know, Stephan, if you're gone and we don't know where you are. Now, mind you, cops probably already had someone sitting on a stakeout or watching somehow Stephan and Jennifer's movements. I bet you Wednesday morning, they were probably sitting outside the hotel. They probably potentially maybe saw him leave, or who knows. I think they knew more than people thought they did, but the cops never showed up. Stephan eventually made it back to the hotel. But Chris says this about Jen. They were checking to see if she would say, he's not here. But she didn't say that. So that's what Chris is saying. You know, Jennifer was just like, oh no. You know, she did not tell the cops, he's not here. You know, what did she tell them? Just, okay, he'll be here. Why so much covering for Stephan? That part I don't understand about Jennifer.
What time did he get, you said 11:15 back to the hotel?
Somewhere
Roughly.
between 11:15 and 11:30. Because I was thinking, well, when's the hour? You know, I thought 11:30 was the witching hour, and he came in before that.
Sure.
And he was just very calm, and he had an energy drink, and his excuse was that he got lost. He didn't have a GPS, and he got lost in the back roads of Disney coming back. I said, okay, well, again, very plausible defense, you know, because
he had his phone on him then, though, didn't he?
No, they already confiscated the phone the night before. And so me with the GPS, I even took the wrong exit and had to do a U-turn to come back to get over to the hotel.
Okay. Did he have, do we know any other devices or anything? Or
No, not that I know of.
That we know of?
I have no idea, because it's like, I don't know my son.
Sure.
Right.
No, my heart goes, I'm a father, yeah. My heart goes out to you. I can't imagine what you're going through.
I mean, the conversations he's had with me all week is just, you know, both-faced lies, everything. There's nothing he said to me that is a speck of truth.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's That's kind of our concern to it too, is that we just,
He's not alone in this.
no.
Jim's involved.
So,
She's involved heavily. She's bisexual. I
Sure.
don't know what happened, but
Right.
so,
there's some monkey shit going on.
But Chris says it's like I don't know my own son. Deb is insisting, this was a year ago again, he's not alone in this. Jen's involved, and she will really double down later.
I think he fell on his sword for her.
And if that's the case, that's what we're trying to figure out. You know,
Yeah,
we want to know just as much as
He
you.
wouldn't have,
You know,
he would not have been
no.
crying
I mean,
sobbing so hard he was almost puking, and she's cool as a cucumber.
Sure.
Well, now I find out from the press conference today that he had a flat between 1:45 and 2:30. He called me at 3:17 that afternoon, Monday, to tell me he had a flat tire. So how the fuck can you have a flat tire? The tires are in fairly good condition.
Right.
He said you just drove up there driving to school and
Right.
back, and I know he had nowhere to go. He would go back to the townhome and crash and burn.
Yeah.
How could you get a flat tire? I mean, it's possible, but really,
Right.
but it was so severe. I mean, he said he got it on 192 and drove the rubber right off the wheel. I mean, he was riding around on the rim.
Yeah.
And didn't know which shopping center he was at. I mean, it's just like so. And then the bullshit story he told me about his phone. So I mean,
Well, the other bullshit is
What?
what he told us, that she had a headache Sunday night. He was sleeping in his room. She sent in there to sleep with him. And
Okay.
then Monday morning, all of a sudden, she disappears.
Well, she supposedly had blood tests.
Bullshit.
But anyway, let's
Sorry.
let the officers continue. What's up?
So, I mean, we're just really trying to get or nail down his timeline.
I think he fell on his sword for her. So, back then she's of the mindset that Stephan is being this kind of stand-up guy. She gives him a hard time over the inappropriate stuff found. Okay, she does hold him accountable for that. But she doesn't have enough compassion at this point in my mind for Maddie, for Maddie's plight. Let us remember Madeline Sophia Soto, only 13. She's the victim. Just hearing about this other victim, remember the 35,000 photos of CSAM they found, whatever, on this jump drive, external drive, not the hard drive, because Stephan had removed the hard drive out of his gaming computer, as they'll talk about later. Remember the 35,000 other images. I don't know how many children those contained. But those victims too.
While he's down here, just trying to help them out, and then
The most I could figure, based on what the detective told me his arrival time was, and by the time he came back to the hotel, he had probably an hour here.
Mhm.
And then I was shocked to hear that he went to the storage facility.
and that we worked through that. That
Yeah.
ended up
We just came from there. The
their
the way
system
their system generates
saying
reports
it
is
as
messed
if it
up.
was accessed, but I mean, honestly, when's the last time that you accessed it? What do you think?
Well, I got a call a couple of weeks ago about the lock not being the unit not being properly locked, and I go, okay, maybe I thought I had slid the bolt over and put the lock in where I was supposed to. I said, but hell, anything could be possible. So I went over the next day. I was trying to find on my phone when she called, but I couldn't determine it. But I would say within the last 2 weeks, I was there.
Yeah,
that
and
matches
that's
up.
the last time that your
Okay.
access codes or any of that
Yeah.
stuff.
He was
So-
here during that time. He was living here during that time.
Sure.
There's only one time your code was accessed between January and now, and it lines up to about when you're
Okay,
saying.
yeah, because I moved him down here in December, so he'd been rented a room for the last year.
Mhm.
But prior to that, he lived there for a couple of years.
Sure.
But I brought him down in December because I was paying for him to live there and work at Disney, and it's like, you can't afford to work for Disney. You're broke.
Sure.
But I didn't realize he was paying their bills as well, because I'm sending him money to live and finding out afterwards I'm paying for 3 people.
Yeah.
But so I moved him back here in December, so he's been here since December. Popular guy.
But anyway, Chris starts talking about how Stephan lived with Jennifer. Chris figured out at some point, you can't afford to work at Disney, Stephan. You don't have any money. Figured out he's paying for 3 people to live there. Chris and Deborah found out a lot of stuff they didn't know. At this point, Chris Sterns gets a call. The call. It's March 1st.
No, I'm on call, so it's just one of those things. So we have good reason to believe, and that his car, he was actually down here a little bit earlier. So the time frame that they passed to you, that was him actually leaving and heading back. Like when they said, "Hey, he was down here at the."
They said 7:45. He was leaving here at 7:45.
So that's what we're seeing is that so he got here roughly. Here is in off of Toledo
we were
Blade.
thinking
at
that
6:29.
because when the dogs alerted, it was 3:19 in the morning, and all 5
The dogs.
Oh yeah, there's no way. I mean, I was in here the other night with you, ma'am, and I walked in. I just checked on you, and then I had to leave. For the dogs were absolutely going. So there's no way that.
But see, I left him at 3:15.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in the hotel room.
Okay,
So he
right.
still needed at least 3 hours to get here.
Sure.
And you're telling me they went on full alert 3:19? You said?
3:19.
Yeah. Okay. So
It
there's
probably-
no way he
that
got in
probably
here.
All
wasn't.
5 of them stood
Yeah.
up on the bed, looking at my window and in full battle roar.
Yeah. So
What was the time that?
Scared the crap out of me.
when did you happen to wake up that day?
When they woke me up,
Well, I mean, like for the day, you got up at 3, or
You were up by 8:30
yeah.
because you
I
had
had an
you had
appointment.
texted me or something, but she was up I believe by 8:30, which surprised me because I knew she went to bed late. But
sure.
No, I had a VA call. They do teleconferences, and they never called me.
That sounds about
That sounds about
Yeah.
accurate. Yeah.
yeah.
but you think he was here earlier? Because,
Around 6:30ish in the morning.
well, he must somehow he must.
So he left right after you checked.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
Oh, look, now it's my turn. Oh, Orange County SO.
You, go ahead.
yeah.
you can answer
Yeah,
that.
take your time.
This is Chris.
I was here all that day.
Hello. I'm standing here with Northport PD, and I said Orange County's calling. They take precedent. I have to answer this call. 2 Northport police officers. Yes. Well, one's about 6'4", 6'3", and the other one's about
5'8".
5'8".
Average.
No, they're just asking me about timeline questions.
I can't have my blood pressure go up the way it did that night.
Thank you.
Okay.
Hey. Yeah, we're in the middle of an interview.
She's what? Oh yeah, deceased. Yeah.
Can
They
you
counted?
call the on-call supervisor?
Hang on.
Larry. Yeah. Thank you.
That we have what? You broke up. I didn't hear that we have what?
What was it?
Marshall's asking for someone. I don't know what for.
Okay.
I wonder if that girl got pregnant.
How were you able to locate it?
I don't have any of those answers, man. I'm sorry.
Oh. In St. Cloud? Yeah, in St. Cloud? Okay.
I was still hoping she was alive.
Okay, well, I just kicked it up to the biggest notch. We're in big showtime now. Not that we didn't know this, but I said this, this confirms what we've suspected all along. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, no.
It's from Alex, I believe an officer named Alex with Orange County Sheriff's Office. You hear Chris say, she's what? Oh yeah, deceased. So Deb does pick up on it pretty quickly. She hears him because she is telling the other cop in the room like, oh, wait a minute, because she heard that. And a lot of points I had to kick up, listen with headphones. It's hard to hear, so many cross conversations. It's a lot going on. There's at least 2 officers and then Deb and Chris, and that annoys me when people start having all these cross conversations. That is like my pet peeve, like at a dinner table and you're just like talking to someone and then someone else, like all these conversations going on at once. Anyway, Deb says, I'm wondering if that girl got pregnant. Oh my goodness, the things she says. Maybe she doesn't mean it to come off the way it comes off, but she has just learned that this little 13-year-old girl whom she allegedly loved, like her own granddaughter or someone, has been indeed found deceased. One of her first sentences is, I'm wondering if that girl got pregnant. First of all, if Maddie ever was pregnant, we still don't know. I know people say either definitely she was or definitely she wasn't. We don't know because they won't release autopsy. As I read the law, he wouldn't have been charged with that type of in utero murder based on the survivability of the fetus outside the womb. So the way I read the law, I could be wrong. I'm no lawyer. You guys in Florida know it better than I do that are experts in the law. Heaven forbid. But if she were, let's say, 12 weeks along, obviously that fetus could not survive outside the womb, so he wouldn't have been charged with additional crimes. We just don't know. Maybe we'll never know. Maddie's in heaven. That's what we can rejoice in. Not rejoice in what she suffered under this guy. But Deb is saying, I'm wondering if that girl got pregnant. First of all, she calls her that girl. And then she says, I'm wondering if that girl got pregnant, as if Maddie did it on her own, if she ever were. That's weird. But then you can hear Deb crying, saying, I was still hoping she was alive. I was hoping she was in the woods someplace. And then Chris is screaming, because they're having a hard time sometimes hearing each other. He gets off the phone. Well, they found the body and it's been leaked.
I was hoping she was in the woods someplace that waited on her to show up.
Yeah. Yes. By the way, I didn't catch your name when we first met, so I have you in my phone as Orange County SO. So.
Chris is on Orange County. I'll call you later.
Okay, Alex. Okay, because when you call, I like to refer to you by name, not Orange County SO. So, Alex, Yeah, I understand.
Law enforcement in South Carolina.
Which part?
He's in Goose Creek.
Alex, I appreciate it. It was a pleasure meeting you.
He was Navy. Navy.
All right, thank you.
Security. Now he works for the security.
Well, they found the body,
I'm sorry.
and it's been leaked.
What?
So he wanted me to know.
What?
They found the body. It's been leaked. So it's out there in the ether world, and he wanted me to know.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry for
I don't
both
know
of
if
you. I
that
mean,
no trespassing sign is going to keep them away from us.
no. If you need help keeping people from your door, call us.
Yeah,
They came here yesterday.
Call us.
Yes.
That's why we put the film on the door so
Sure.
they can't see it.
So the news about Maddie being found has been leaked. So no wonder this officer, Alex, calls Chris to let him know, to let Deb know, before they find out maybe on social media or something.
Yeah. And if they're bothering you too much, obviously, do call us, please.
Yeah.
I told you I wasn't going to do poo patrol. If they get in my backyard, they can step in shit.
Well, we can't go forever not doing it.
I know.
Okay. All right. Where we left off, he was here earlier.
Just a bit earlier. We're just trying to figure out
Around 6:30.
his path.
I mean, he literally would have had to have left the hotel when I left him at 3:7. I'm thinking 3:17 or so, but we got there at 3, checked in. Did I call you at that time, Deb?
What?
At 3 o'clock in the morning?
Probably you knew I'd be awake.
I don't think so, but
I don't know.
let me
Probably got
see.
the logs, so.
Because I can't believe how far back these calls are retaining now. I thought within a short period of time. So that would have been Wednesday. So that was 6:28. So it would have been earlier than that.
Did they happen to say how she died?
No, and if he did, he wouldn't tell me.
Typically with cases such as this, they're going to wait until they have all
I mean, I'm surprised he even called to tell me that.
and everything else. So
Where did he say she was found?
Why do people
St.
always
Cloud.
assume that the parents are the reason
Where's that
like that?
It's south of Kissimmee, but I'm not that familiar with Kissimmee.
Yeah, me either.
that's not why.
Deb does ask, did they happen to say how she died? And it's like, no, I'm surprised she even told me that much. I don't know if Alex is a man or a woman. Got me thinking of Alex and Fatal Attraction. Anyway, I watched that movie not too long ago. But Deb is like, why do people always assume that the parents are the reason they are like that? He is a 77-year-old man. So she's already having it in her mind, for some reason, that people are blaming Chris, especially, and Deb. Or later she's going to talk about, why is it always the mom's fault? Anyway, Deb talks about reporters coming, and she saw a microphone earlier and she turned them away. Chris is in the foreground. He's talking about Jennifer's BS. So it's a lot of conversations going on.
Okay, I talked to her at 2:41
No, not you.
Wednesday.
Universe.
So 2:41,
These media
and
people,
then
they want to get you into
8:15. So I talked to her at 2:41. Let me see.
They just make
1:21.
misery.
I agree.
2:41,
I
2:29.
can't imagine what you're going through.
When they got to the
And
door
then,
yesterday with the microphone, all I did, I got there, I
8:15
saw the
a.m.
microphone, I just went
So, yeah.
like
so-
that and turned around and left.
Yeah, I didn't talk to her after, told her I was checking in, so I left him at 3:15, and he must have bolted out.
I mean, you're not going to bother us, the police, if
I'm
people
kinda
come
thinking
harass
this
or anything.
He must have bolted out right away after I left them
We're
and headed down to
here
Northport,
to help you.
which means that when she called me, that was bullshit. Do you know where Stephan is?
Yeah, because she called me
At 9:45.
Oh, okay.
And so that had to be part of their game.
And
If that is,
help that family through it.
got her ass to nail the rights here.
So,
1:51, because they had Stephan's phone, so I was communicating with her.
Right.
So let's see.
I'm just curious.
9:48, she called me.
When he came
9:48.
Yeah, and so then let's see.
And she told you what when she called you?
Do I know where
Do you
Stephan
know
is? Okay, and then she called back at 9:49.
Does he know anybody else in the area? Is there any? Are you sure he didn't come here? If he did,
And
it's
then-
fine.
Swear to God, you
Sure.
I didn't
No. I'm not accusing you of anything. No.
But Deb is like, I swear to God, you can give me a lie detector test. And they're like, no, we're not blaming you for anything. And then Deb is like, well, basically Jen was in the interview room. Didn't she text you? And Chris is like, she told me she was in an interview room and she said, get Stephan a lawyer now.
She called me at 10:17, and that's when she relayed to me that the police are on their way.
Okay.
I leave them loose so they can.
And
Sure. And there's no way. I mean, a window could.
yeah, 10:17.
Yeah,
So
rock
This is all impact.
Yeah, that was it.
Break it.
Well,
let's
I
see.
mean, but like,
Other call was
yeah,
10:47.
They're alerted. Like,
Outgoing
I have
call
a
16
golden
seconds.
doodle, so I got a love for poodles. It's,
So I think I may have called her to let her know I was on the way. I may have called her one more to let her know I was pulling into.
The girls
I said,
are
I'm here.
better than the boys.
So when I got up there, the room was completely dark.
That's true.
And they
And
are even when we
I
come
was like, what the
out.
fuck is going
Absolutely.
on? The room was dark, and I walked in there, opened up the shades, and
There's
to bring
no
some
way
light
that
in.
on this property got in this house.
And she was out of it.
No friends in the area that you have?
She was on.
The only friend I know.
She must have been on her anxiety meds, and she was sitting down, and both of her legs were bouncing up and down rapidly.
I don't think they'd let him in at whatever.
And,
Or if he just went by to talk.
And then she made some. She was on the phone with somebody, I don't know, but then she made a comment that reporters were calling her, and I said, "You don't need to speak to reporters; they're not your friends. They're calling you for their benefit." And then she said, "Well, my daughter's missing. I got to find my daughter." I said, "There is plenty of publicity out there, all over the place,
when they went up to
that everybody's looking for her. You don't need to feed these reporters any other information because they're not your friends." But she was out of it, and then she was out of it until Stephan got back. They both went back to bed. I stayed in the room for maybe another half hour or so, and I said, "Well,
Sure.
I'm going to go down to the lobby and wait for these detectives.
I gave you
Which they never showed up.
Have a beer with the
But as the day progressed, she came downstairs or I went upstairs and I went back downstairs and said, we got to get something to eat. So I took her to get something to eat, but she was still kind of hyped up at that time.
I don't know how she was.
But by the time, then she got a call, notified me that they were 10 minutes away and that they would meet her in the lobby. So everybody got their act together collectively.
Right.
And then they came downstairs. He was in much better condition, more alert, not so drugged. And she got progressively better. I didn't see them again until hours later because she was escorted, Stephan was escorted separately. And she called me and said, hey, come up to the conference, go inside, they'll give you a pass. And by the time I got up there, the whole thing was done. And then I'm calling her, where are you? What's going on? And she was in an interview room. She was waiting for somebody to talk to her. And of course, Stephan I never saw because they took him straight back. So whatever they were telling us at the lobby was just to comfort them and put them in the car where they were that a hassle and getting them down to the SO. But it was apparent that they were going to arrest him.
Yes, but while she was still in an interview room.
Yes.
Did she text you?
Yeah, she texted me. Yeah, she told me she was in the interview room and she said, get Stephan a lawyer now. And I go, why? And then she texted me and said, they found photos of Stephan and that there were a lot of them and that they've been going on for 2 years. So she knew at that time. And then a few hours later, she came out around 8 o'clock where they let her go to get something to eat. I found out the dog hadn't had water for 24 hours, so I went up to Publix to get a bowl of some water so he could have some water. And her demeanor was unbelievable. Like there was nothing in the world wrong.
Yeah.
And to me, that was odd because I really expected my throat to be cut. Any parent that found out their child had been going on for a long time, why would you want to sit next to the father of this person? Why would you want to be in the same vicinity of this person? And I had to believe,
get him a lawyer now unless you wanted him to be quiet and not reveal anything.
and told him to lawyer up. And I have to believe that her demeanor was similar to what the detectives were experiencing. I've already communicated this to Alex. That I said, there's something not right here. Because for 9 hours that I was with her up until I left her at midnight, it was business as usual.
Right.
Joking,
Not a care in the world.
Yeah.
He's not innocent. I cannot condone any of that. She is not innocent. He is a monster. But she is too.
I believe they're talking about the events of the previous Wednesday. I know there were several press conferences. It must have been, I'm assuming, Wednesday when, Jennifer was confronted with, look at what your boyfriend has been doing to your daughter for 2 years. And when Jennifer's claiming she knew nothing, and it's like, but she's there like, get Stephan a lawyer now. Deb does call Stephan to the carpet here. She says he is not innocent. I cannot condone any of that. He is a monster, but she is too. So she's accepting Stephan has done some monstrous stuff, but it's like she wants Jen to blame it on. She wants them to take equal blame. Honestly, as I sit here, today is Thursday, August 21st, I'm going to get back on the Koberger stuff soon. Don't worry, I've still got a video I've already filmed in my projects here to edit and get out too. At this point, I honestly don't know Jennifer's role in any of this. So until, if ever, Jennifer is charged and there's an arrest affidavit written up, we can go through that. But I don't really know, some people think she's super guilty. Some people don't like Deb blaming Jennifer so much. To tell you the truth, I don't know Jennifer's role. I don't think she protected Maddie as much as she could have. But, as for her involvement, how deep it went into this crime, sending her daughter off to bedroom number 4 the last night of her life, I don't know.
Oh, there's the two of them have colluded in this. I've got to believe it.
There's got to be.
And we don't doubt that at one bit.
But the bullshit lies that my son made. He called me at 4:54 and said, "Hey, there's been an occurrence." I said, "Oh, that's a strange word, but okay." I'm on my way to the grandmother's house. They never made it to school. We think she's been abducted, and he gave me this whole story, and then all of a sudden he starts having this meltdown and breakdown or what have you. But I guess I'm finding out what kind of actor he can be.
So, do we think there's any way at around 6:30 he could have come here at all? Probably not.
Or even got to the garage.
Not without us knowing about it.
He doesn't have he doesn't have an access to the garage. He couldn't get in my car to use the remote because I had the only key.
And he couldn't get in the door, and he didn't have a key. I don't even have a key.
Yeah.
You got to know the owner.
And
I don't have a key.
I had this back door secured. That door is 400 pounds.
Yeah.
Seriously. And I had it locked up into secure.
And those dogs would have picked up on him at
Listen, if a roach
6:30.
farts outside, they hear it.
Yeah.
They can hear a rabbit that's in the yard, and I let them out, and they go, "Roar!" and you see these stupid rabbit run.
Yeah.
And it goes underneath.
Yeah, it becomes like kind of greyhound racing. It becomes a
like a raceway back there.
Yeah, the back and forth. The rabbits going, how do I get out?
You know how they send the African boys off to kill a lion and share their manhood? I think the rabbits send them to go to the Sterns yard. If you could make one into the other.
You've passed your tribal.
Yeah, right.
One of
You are
us.
now a warrior.
And they
You
sit at
ninja
the
rabbit.
End of the sidewalk there, and they'll get.
This is where Chris changes the subject. He does that often, and I don't necessarily fault him for that too. Sometimes when a topic is so heavy, they just found out Maddie's not alive. Deb does cry. You can hear her crying. I think she has emotions over it, whether they are more for Maddie or her son. Lord knows, but Chris seems to want to lighten the mood by changing the topic, which I totally understand. Even covering true crime, some people, they'll comment to a lot of us sometimes like, how dare you, add any levity or laugh at all during any video. It is a serious topic, and that's why I do tend to be more serious in these videos, but we also always have to find moments of levity wherever we can find them. I think that's what Chris is doing. So he starts talking about these rabbits in the yard or whatever. I think they're talking about these noisy dogs all the time. And then Deb is like, you know how they send the Africa boys to kill a lion to show their manhood? I think the rabbits go to the Sterns' yard basically to, confront the dogs maybe. Because she's talking about dog poop in the yard, and if the reporters want to get back there, they can step in it. I don't care. And then Chris is like, you can't leave the dog poop out there forever. They're an intriguing couple, really. They do kind of make me laugh. Some people call them vile. Some people call them weird. I mean, I vacillate between especially with Deb. But then I'm like, well, she's supposed to be my Christian sister, so that's what I struggle with here. Anyway, you guys will see. Deb is saying these reporters, I guess they don't want to go out in the yard, and that seclusion amps up by April 11th. They don't want to go even out hardly to the store, just do a big grocery run, just so they won't have to go out. And we're even going to hear their son, Rick, call. I think that's his name, Rick, calling in the next April 11th interview, just in the background. You can't really tell what he's saying. But I was like, wow, okay, he's calling them. They're in touch, I guess. Basically, Deb is saying she's being more of a recluse. She doesn't want to go out, I think, and pick up dog poop because, especially if it's a Daily Mail guy out there, maybe this is just me talking about Daily Mail, but those telephoto lenses they have, I mean, they can catch you. Whew. So, of course, Deb doesn't want to go out there and be accosted by a reporter. That's why they're talking about dog poop. And Chris is laughing like, oh yeah, a warrior, you ninja rabbit. He's adding levity to this heavy situation. I know some people would find that very inappropriate, but he's also going to say, we were kind of expecting this. This is Friday, March 1st. Maddie's been missing since that Monday. Stephan was arrested that Wednesday. So I guess they're assuming Maddie's probably not still alive, but they just got the confirmation.
Blade of grass and they'll chew it and they'll look at the door and the dogs go, and they're going like, seriously.
Does he have a bunch of maybe computers or phones?
Well, I told Alex, I said, he has a desktop computer that I stuck out in the garage. I said, you should probably come get that thing and do whatever forensic stuff that you need on it. But I put it out in the garage waiting for you guys.
Okay.
You want to take it? Take it.
Yeah, we'll take it off your hair. Is there, I'm trying to let you guys answer most of the stuff. I mean, where it makes logical sense. I'm just trying to you mentioned the friends, or the one friend.
What was his name that was the
The
postman?
mailman.
Oh, Justin?
Yes.
Well, yeah, I don't think
Do
he
you think
has.
you would come and visit him during that hour? I mean, even just in person.
Well, he may have visited Frank more because Frank was a more recent friend, and Justin was. He hadn't seen Justin in a while.
I couldn't remember Frank's name.
Yeah, and I don't know his contact information.
Do you know his last name?
Nope.
Do you know about where he lives, or is it?
Never met him.
Yeah.
Well, I met him one time. He came here to either get something from Stephan or what have you. Stocky guy, beard. You're better looking than he is.
It's not saying
Hair-
much. So.
Yeah, it does not say much.
He works at. Because Stephan said he had mentioned about going to work for him, and I said, "Well, there's manual labor involved. That won't happen." I said that would be a quick end to a relationship. Where does he work at? Is it lawn? I don't think it's lawn maintenance. I don't know if he does irrigation. God, what was it? It's physical in nature. I'll probably bolt up at 3 o'clock this morning and go, "Oh, I remember now." But it was some sort of manual labor. I said that won't happen. He would be too unreliable. He won't get out of bed, and certainly wouldn't want to do that kind of work.
Sure.
But I have no idea what his name is other than Frank.
Well, if you do remember, I'll leave you my cell number and
Yeah.
everything too.
But that would be kind of strange for him contacting Frank at 6 o'clock in the morning unless he had some elaborate story for him.
Yeah.
But certainly not Justin. Yeah, he hadn't been in contact with Justin for months.
That was the
Long
only
time.
person I knew, and whoever it was that he met the last time he went out here to play Warhammer.
Yeah, he met some friends at whatever, some kind of gaming place. I think it was in Port Charlotte, not
Yeah.
far from here.
There's a game
One down
store
by,
in Port Charlotte. Every Wednesday they meet there and they play this game every Wednesday.
I can picture the place. It's near a like on the back roads to the mall,
So
essentially.
that was his first time since he came back here that he went there to play.
And Justin, you said no. What was Justin's last name? Do you know?
Don't know, but he works at the post office.
Justin, post office.
Yeah.
This used to be his route.
Uh,
That's how he met Stephan. Stephan got something in the mail from Warhammer. And
Wow.
Justin came up to the door and said, "Who plays Warhammer?" You know, and I said, "My son does." "Do you want to meet him?" He says, "Yes, we got Stephan."
I don't think
this
there's
is
anything
great,
else
you know?
we're trying to cover. We're just trying to narrow down some timelines and stuff and let you know that
the storage unit.
the
thing
storage
was-
unit didn't pan out. It was the way that they had ran their computer system ran a check. It actually searched your specific unit, go in, it says exited, and
Further able to interrogate it. That's what it.
Well, and then I told Alex, I said there isn't much room in there. I mean, there was just a width between a bunch of stuff stuck there and the shelves, but he would have to pull, which again, manual labor.
Yeah.
He would have had to pull a bunch of shit out.
Sure.
And the only thing I said, well, if he didn't put a body there, what was he there for? Well, maybe, okay, I'm going to go live in the woods. Maybe there was some camping gear in there that he could go get and he could give it to her. But now we
don't think
Are
he
you
was there.
missing any tools or anything?
I haven't. Look, they called me yesterday afternoon and said the police department dropped off the keys. And I said, I'm not going to go over there right now.
Sure.
I said, I have no reason to. I mean, I'd be curious to see if there was anything out of place. And I was going to look earlier to see in my phone if I had a before picture to tell, but I could tell when I walk in there because it's pretty full.
Yeah.
There's not much room to move around there. And I was actually in the process of cleaning out the garage even further to move that stuff out of there because I don't need to be spending the money for that.
Sure.
If he came here and he had his body trying to hide it, those Labrador dogs would have hit.
Well,
Because the
yeah,
smell,
I
the smell
don't-
starts within 2 hours.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes,
And I
yes.
don't believe that. Just it's me personally. I don't believe that he drove
never
around
got-
with
he never
her
got here.
in the car.
Well, we don't believe he brought her here.
Yeah.
But I do know that he was down here just trying to figure, paint
So
that
the-
picture. Of
So the question is, the question is, why did he come to Northport?
Correct.
I don't know. I don't know if it was to.
That's what we're trying to
He
figure
knows
out.
what's going. I mean, he knows what's happened, right? Is it?
Yeah, it's obvious.
Did he want to see mom
He's the
last time? kind
He's
of thing
the
before?
only one in the know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that would, I don't know, would you, Deb, would you have found it strange if Stephan had showed up Wednesday morning here?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what I mean. Again, I don't know yourself.
without calling first, he would know I wouldn't be up.
We were just trying to think, like, that's probably the only reason that he would have to come down here. We don't think that he had her with him.
Unless he was trying to get in the house and maybe up in Kissimmee. I have no idea why he was here.
We had cash.
Oh.
He didn't want me to get in here and get the cash.
Well,
would he steal from you guys often? Was that a?
Oh yes. Yeah.
He got in.
And Deb is saying, well, if he came here and if he had Maddie's, it's redacted, but Maddie's body trying to hide it, those cadaver dogs would have hit. The smell starts within 2 hours. I'm like, whoa, boy. So they're talking about, okay, why would Stephan come here? The parents start accusing him maybe he would steal from us. And the cop is like, has he stolen from you before? Deb is like, yeah, he got in my wallet. He got in basically Chris's wallet. He stole cash out of the something. We didn't find out until Jen told us. So somehow Jennifer started spilling the beans on Stephan. No honor among thieves. That's the way I looked at that. Jen starts spilling the beans on Stephan's wrongdoings, and what about her own? I don't know.
My wallet. He got in his wallet. He stole cash out of the. We didn't find that out until Jen told us.
No, I already knew about it. She just confessed it for him. Yeah. But I already checked it when I came back. It was the same amount of money in there. So, but obviously he didn't get in. But I don't know if he knew, because if he knew, he would have been taking hundreds out of there at a time. From a different pile, because I had it paper clipped together, bashed, and it was only $8. But you would know that money was gone, and it sure as hell wouldn't be her, and it wouldn't be me. So it had to be him.
And then I thought, well, maybe he was trying to get, because it has all the jewelry in it. And
it's valuable.
And that
he
much
was with me when we were looking for my father's Rolex.
So we think he stole the Rolex.
And that much we do know, that he was here at 6:30. We just don't know. I'm not saying he made it into the house or anything like that. That's what we're trying to figure out.
Well,
why,
so is there some traffic camera that picked up he was here, or did they?
That he was in the city, but we have
other means
That's fine.
that put him here at the house.
We just got out of the first.
I know how it is with I'm locked on my own house.
It's been it's the same bad.
You got a better lock than me. It only locks me out.
Yeah. and then it wouldn't work. So it wasn't working at all.
Yeah.
And when I left Wednesday morning, maybe Tuesday night, I called Debbie and gave her a heads up. I said, don't go. Let me see, what time would that be? So let's see here. Stephan called me at 6:32 that evening. And then I called Debbie at 12:12. So that's what time I left here to go to Orlando, and called her to tell her, hey, don't use the front door. Don't rely on it, or you won't be able to get in. And they should be locked out. And I said, I'm not coming back to get you in. So, yeah.
Other than that, I don't know. I think that's really all we had.
What? I don't understand why he didn't call me at all. If he's in trouble.
I don't know. That's something only he can answer.
Because I would yell.
Well, maybe he thought, because of my former law enforcement experience, that I could be of any help to him. But, when he called me about the phone and he said, should I give him the phone? I don't know if he already given it to him. I said, well, you got anything on there that you wouldn't want them to see? No. I said, then no worries.
Sure.
When in actuality, he was probably shitting in his pants.
Or he thought he wiped it, factory reset, whatever.
Well, that was some bullshit story he told me about that. And so I'm doing an OS update and I accidentally reset it.
Yeah.
Doesn't happen that way.
It's not easy.
So
it's hard to work.
and I told Alex this. I said, there's a lot of inconsistency to his conversation with me that obviously makes sense, and that here he is. He's come up with a huge lie.
Sure.
And dealing with that.
The computer that you guys set out for him, how long had he had it for?
Oh, he's had it for years.
Okay.
It's like a gaming computer?
It's a gaming computer. But it's been here all the time he's been gone.
Okay.
And then he came back. And so I know he's been using the computer because he's been gaming on it.
Sure. Right.
But, and he may have offloaded some stuff on it, which is why I told Alex, I said, hey, there may be some information on here that you may want to get to.
I'm sure they're going they're gonna want.
Yeah, so I don't know if you want it or.
Yeah, I can grab it and give it to
okay.
them. Let me, I got paperwork out in the car. I'll
Yeah.
have to grab, just a receipt for you.
Okay.
I've got that.
Yes, ma'am.
Transparent.
No, there's no reason to think.
We are not.
If we knew something, we would
Yeah.
tell you.
No.
Yeah, and I hope we don't come off. We're not coming off
No,
as
you're
like
not. You guys,
interrogating you or
I
anything.
told Chris, I said they treated me with such respect and.
It's nothing that you did. Unfortunately, your son made the decision he made.
He's an adult.
And
He's
yes.
will be 38 and
It has nothing to do with how you raised him. It has nothing to do with
You
any
see
of that.
this stuff on TV, you watch the news
the only thing that I can say
and the circus and
And they
Scrambled
all
eggs
tax
in
that
the
are
brain.
wanted as if you
It
have
could have been
anything
when
to
he
do
was hit
with.
by the truck.
And like, you know, how do you think I feel?
It could be the guy that
Ask
attacked him
yourself, how do you think you would
and he ended up
feel?
stabbing him.
So,
It could be,
Uh,
I don't know what.
I tend not to get emotional about this stuff
I don't know
because
what,
former
but
law
something-
enforcement, you know, you gotta
That
be
was an
calm.
only child.
Just like when I called about that guy that in the truck that had me, but
But in the last 6
You know,
months, he
I'll have
finds
my
a little
moments
kitten
to,
out there
you know,
that's sick.
figure this out.
$3,000 later for a stray cat with
Grief and
pneumonia.
everything else that's a.
But he
It's a huge
has that
job.
kind of empathy and has that kind of
I
heart.
just,
He has that
I can't
love
believe
in
he
him.
set this in on us.
I hate when
And I was
he's
telling
done
them, I
it.
said,
And don't it, but he's so
What if he
much
came
trouble.
back
Yes.
here? What if he?
Yeah, I'm sorry you're
managed to
going through what
slip
you're going through. I really am. And,
This
if
investigation, then
you
he
get
comes
too much
back
bother
here, he
from
brings his shit down on
the
us.
media, please
Let's leave
call,
him here.
put a call in
It's
for
like-
service and let us know because
No feelings
Is it-
about it
you don't
whatsoever.
you don't need to be going through that kind of stuff if you don't want,
And the
you know.
fact that he's
So
saying that it's supposed to be
I'm not
we're here
doing
for
it.
you.
I'm not
morning
doing
at
it.
the hotel and check it in.
I have an Irish.
And his demeanor was such
Yeah. Well, we're here for you as much as we can help. I don't have. We'll grab you a
But there
card.
was something weird about him on Saturday. He came asking me for, I only got medications for my heart and
No, I don't blame you
I
either.
We do have to
anxiety.
take care of it.
Her, no, she doesn't have it. He was
And I
like,
would rather
he
be
was,
the human being than a
he was
dog.
out. So something happened Saturday night.
They're more worthless.
And then he found some 4-year-old medication.
No,
Took that.
Just be cautious when you leave and
Something
stuff.
happened Saturday.
If you're out and about too and you have issues, please call us.
We canceled the dog appointments today to be groomed because we were afraid somebody would follow us. And she'd be the parking lot or follow us into the store and cause a problems with the PetSmart. where we were
I'm
getting-
sorry that something your son did is making your lives kind of
We don't
a living hell.
for groceries. He went today before anybody could get here, and I said, we better stock up on some stuff because we're not going out of the house for a while.
Well, I'll give you my number and stuff. If you guys ever need anything, let me know. If you need us to run to the store or something or whatever.
They can sit up either into the street and watch us leave and follow.
If you need anything, like if you need us to grab something or whatever, just let us know. But I'm gonna go grab some paperwork and stuff, and we'll be back. And I'll leave you with. I'll try to find a card or whatever. I'll at least leave you with our phone number.
I certainly appreciate it. Hear that night. Except I wish they hadn't let the dog shoot my.
Oh, did they? Oh.
Did they really?
Yeah, no, he had diarrhea. So.
I missed that part.
Yeah.
You missed that, huh?
Yeah. No, I was just.
Somebody else picked it up for me, but they squished it into the rug, and he said,
Oh
"You
God.
might have to get a hose."
You have an Australian accent? The guy?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, Australia, not New Zealand, because we get offended if you say that.
I said, what is that accent? And he said, Australia. I said, oh, I was thinking New Zealand. He said, I said, but you would like me. He says, you're lucky I like you. Okay.
We'll be right back. We're gonna grab that paperwork.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
Deb starts talking about, I understand she's trying to figure out what happened to her son. She says something about, is this, him getting hit by the truck? Basically, the TBI defense. Did this change him into this? There's the incident where someone was stabbed. Now, I heard about this incident. There's so much going on, you can barely hear what Deb is saying. But it's something, I believe it happened in California. Stephan may have been walking with his girlfriend, or I don't know how old he was. I could find no evidence of this, but I wish I could. It's hard to hear, but it's like, I think, from how I understand it, Stephan may have been walking with a girlfriend or something like this. Take this with a grain of salt, I could be way off. And some guy was trying to flirt with the girl, and so Stephan confronted the guy, or they got into it, and someone got stabbed. And I was like, whoa, did Stephan stab someone? Or was Stephan stabbed? It would make a difference because it plays into this case, because it would show you how he reacts in a moment of stress or pressure. If some guy was, talking bad about his girlfriend, is he man enough to just walk away from a fight? Or was he the type who would hurt someone when he didn't get his way? Is that ultimately what happened with Maddie that night? Will we ever know? Chris is starting to say too back there, something happened Saturday night. He says that more than once. But of course we can't hear it because there's so much going on. So whatever you can hear, please add to the comments. So that's basically the gist of the March 1st interview. Now let's talk about this April 11th, 2024 interview. Now this is what I'm going to overlay with body cam video footage from February 28th, 2024. I know it gets confusing. It's like some people are like, why do you have February 28th body cam and then you have audio underneath from April 11th? Well, I'm visual. I like watching things. I don't just like a stationary photo on the screen. Chances are that kind of stuff I might, if I'm really into it, like phone calls from prison, I might listen to that or whatever. Other than that, that's the kind of thing I can throw in my watch later and I just listen to, because basically I'm just listening to the audio. But I like having something going on the screen. Kill two birds with one stone, because the February 28th, 2024 body cam video footage from the storage unit, they redacted almost the entire audio. Like these videos, you'll see if you go get the raw.
All standing by for CID.
They might be an hour long, but by the time we pull it into my video editing software and I look for the audio waves, it's like, 30 seconds of audio waves, the rest, or blurred out or blacked out. But anyway, that's why I have this video on top of the April 11th audio.
This is Detective Maddie on April 11th, 2024 at 17:34 hours. I'm going to be at Snug Street, Northport, Florida, speaking with a Stephan Sterns in reference to an agency assist investigation with Kissimmee Police Department, Northport PD case number 24015-034.
didn't see you sneak up.
Hey, what's going on, Harry?
Oh, I thought you had a bruise on you.
Oh, no.
Did you do a face plant?
Probably. With my luck. Hey, how are you guys? All things.
Hey, quiet. Quiet.
Well, we had want to talk about our conversation with Stephan?
Well, we talked through it yesterday, and I told Mark this. Our indication is from him and just talking to him and some of the way he said things that the one that killed him.
And that there's more than one person involved, so that brings in the mother, the sister.
Sure.
I don't know if you probably didn't hear this, but see all this crazy stuff on YouTube, but
we're supposed to be multimillionaires living in these millionaire homes.
The aunt
the sister called in the 911 call.
Sorry. 10-4, I'll be off the air in our interview.
Come in, sit down.
Sure.
So if you listen to this phone call, the sister's calling in the 911 call and then asking who must have been across the room the questions that she's being asked, and said, well, what was she wearing? And the mother's sitting back there. Nobody's hysterical. It's just like a common conversation. And like you and I talked a few minutes ago.
That's awful.
You know?
She says, I think it was a green hoodie. Yeah, it's the same one she wore when she went to go and sit in front of the church and get her picture taken, because she's the same size as her daughter, but the hoodie would cover the fact that she has dark hair, her daughter had blonde hair.
I'm sorry.
I'm telling you, this is.
Oh, I have no doubt.
This is quicksand and shit.
Yeah, I have no doubt. I'm sure that. So our involvement to this is very, very limited.
Yeah.
You know, you
I
guys
do
know.
have a question.
Sure.
How did this crazy ass woman on YouTube get the in-car dash cam from the deputy's car that was transporting him and have it on her YouTube show with a complete transcription of everything that was said?
I can't speak for them again, but for the public record laws in Florida are very, very loose. You know what I mean? It's like open to
Those
to
are
everybody
public
else.
record?
Sure, any police interaction, they'll redact certain things. Like I know my agency will redact victims' faces, medical information, those kind of things. But as far as body cameras and everything goes,
This twit went back 40 years to pull
ugh,
my
everything.
divorce decree
That's crazy.
that I was going to divorce him. Well, I was going to divorce him, but then we worked it out.
Worked it
We've been
out,
married
yeah.
44 years.
Good for you guys. That's
You know?
life's a journey.
Hey, I
Well,
went to
it
church.
took 2 out of 3 mud wrestling matches, but she won.
Yeah.
And she said the only reason he's still with her is because it's cheaper to keep her. Is it?
It starts out with Deb saying something about, we had a conversation with Stephan. She's eager to tell the cops this as soon as they arrive, but those gosh darn dogs are barking so loud and they're shushing them, but they're eager to tell the officer. Chris is like, our indication from him is just talking to him. Some of the way Stephan said things is basically that Jen, redacted, is the one that killed her. So that's why they were eager to talk to this cop who was coming to pick up the, Stephan's devices. And the cop, I'm sure he's like, it reminds me of like maybe he is being with his grandparents or his parents. I don't know how old this officer is. Just like, being their therapist, listening. But his main point is, let me just get these devices, you guys. Anyway, Deb is like, and there's more than one person involved. So that brings in the mother, the sister. She wants everyone to go down except her precious baby boy. Which again, I still give a portion, just a teeny portion of grace to Deb, because I know what it is. I went off on someone nearly a week ago, my version of going off. When that mama bear comes out, you are protecting your child, I understand. But that's only if it's a righteous anger, not if it's like some shady anger trying to blame other people who had nothing to do with it, like Maddie's grandma and Maddie's aunt. Anyway, Chris starts going in on YouTubers. Chris, you probably didn't hear this. See all this crazy stuff on YouTube, and Deb's like, oh, we're supposed to be multimillionaires living in these millionaire homes. I know she just keeps saying that because in one video I was researching where they used to live. People get interested in a monster. What made him this way? How did he grow up? No blame to the parents. It's just interesting to see what was his background. So I saw him in, California addresses, Georgia addresses, Florida addresses. And when I looked them up, of course, on Zillow, I'm not giving out those home addresses, but when I looked up the homes, some of them, of course, the modern day value, at least one was over $1 million. So that's what it was. That's just the truth. But that doesn't mean that I think they were these lifelong millionaires or whatever. Anyway, Chris is like, the aunt, Jen's sister, called in the 911 call. And if you listen to the phone call, the sister's calling in the 911 call and then asking Jen, who must have been across the room, the questions she's being asked, like, well, what was she wearing? And the mother's sitting back there. Nobody's hysterical. It's like a common conversation. It's like they're blaming Jen's families for how they sounded on the 911 call. We know Maddie's grandma was very worried about her. Maddie's friends and relatives, they were all worried. That's why they were standing in the grandma's office. So I'm sure Chris and Deb feel differently now. Again, no hate, no one should reach out to Chris and Deb, no one should threaten them, no one should bother them. This is just their reaction last year. And I'm sure they saw by that sentencing hearing just how upset Maddie's family was. So Chris is like, acting like, oh, like you and I talking a few minutes ago. It's just a casual conversation. Deb says, she said, oh, I think it was a green hoodie, mocking how Jennifer said. It was hard to hear Jennifer in the background of that 911 call. Very difficult. But she sounded like she could have been upset or feigning being upset, Jennifer. But Deb is blaming Jennifer. She's saying, yeah, it was the same one she wore when she went to go sit in front of the church to get her picture taken because she's the same size as her daughter, but the hoodie would cover the fact that she has dark hair and her daughter had blonde hair. She says something like, quicksand in a ship. I try and Google a lot of Deborah's sayings. It's very interesting. Deb, oh, she gets really angry at me here. I do have a question. How did this crazy ass woman on YouTube get the in-car dash cam from the deputy's car that was transporting him and have it on her YouTube show with the complete transcription of everything that was said? I wish it was the complete transcription. Let me tell you, Deb, it's a lot of work. Transcribing these freaking interviews, I will tell you that. It takes time to listen, and then me, not some AI, but me transcribing what I hear. It takes up time and space. But Deb was talking about my YouTube video titled Stephan Sterns, March 1st, 2024 body cam video. First night, I was on a concrete floor with a roll of toilet paper. So I published that on April 3rd, 2024. So I remember they released to us the transport, video, and Stephan was in the back. It was hard to hear him. He talked a little bit about, oh, my core body temperature dropped so low. I didn't get a pillow. I had to use a roll of toilet paper. You think they should do that? It was so woe is me. Meanwhile, that same day, hours within hours, they would find Maddie's cold shell lying out there among the bamboo. What about Maddie? That's what I keep coming back to when Stephan is woe is me and Deb's got all this smoke for me. I'm reporting the truth. And then she talks about these divorce documents. But she's so angry at everyone else besides Stephan at this point. And I don't see a ton of sympathy for Maddie throughout all of these interviews. But the cop is explaining to her those are public records, She's like, those are public records? And then she calls me a twit. I was like, ooh, I had to look that up. It's kind of a British word too. But I was like, at least she didn't replace the I with an A, huh? Anyway, she's like, this twit went back 40 years to pull my divorce decree that I was going to divorce him. I was going to divorce him. But then we worked it out, been married 44 years. And Deb says something like, hey, I went to church, because the officer's like, yeah, it's a journey, I know. Believe me, I know. I've been divorced before when I was previously married. Anyone can pull the divorce decree, whatever, it's public record. It's fair is fair. Deb is like, hey, I went to church. And then Chris, back to his joking ways, says it took 2 out of 3 mud wrestling matches, but she won. So anyway, I am glad they made it. I'm glad they stuck together. They probably had a lot to get through. It's no shade when reporters kind of dig and do our job, and some people think, okay, where do you cross the line? Of course, not doxing anyone. I don't know. I just want to be fair to these parents. Deb claims she said the only reason he's still with her is because it's cheaper to keep her. Is it? So I couldn't even find me saying that in the transcript, but I did probably mention cheaper to keep her. That sounds like me somewhere in a video, because I grew up with my mom's side of the family playing all this blues music over us every weekend, and they would play cards, and I was like, I thought it was B.B. King, but I guess I looked it up. It was Johnny Taylor. It's cheaper to keep her. You might know that song. They played that so much. I could see the guys and my uncle, all them, it's cheaper to keep her. They were learning, might as well stay married to that woman. It's cheaper than getting a divorce. But anyway, I love some blues. Oh my goodness. B.B. King has this song I hadn't heard in decades, but it was don't make your move too fast. He says, one in the front, one behind, one in my arms, and one on my mind. I was like, ooh, what a player. Anyway, blues can be poetry. So that's why I know I probably would have said cheaper to keep her, but I know I didn't say that's the only reason Chris is still with Deb. I would not say that. I don't like harsh snark. I don't like to cut people. I don't like to kick people when they're down.
Oh, they're very expensive, especially I can share with you the storage bills. $100,000. One of these, this one has like a video application on it, but this one has the shit on it.
Yeah. What's that mean, the shit on it? Like,
there's I didn't see it because I didn't want to, but I just hovered the mouse over it. And so you open up, there's a regular directory and there's subdirectories. And then you hovered over the subdirectories and it started listing titles, images. Layla, 5 years old or something like that.
I'm praying is that they can find out where that crap came from and go after those people.
And that's
why we were so determined to get you guys.
Absolutely, and that's I used to, years ago I worked a lot of the internet crimes against children and stuff, and that is the main goal, is to delete it from existence and to arrest the people, because all these people call it whatever. To me, it's crime scene photos. It's just kids being brutally harmed. And you think this is from the computer tower itself?
Yeah, because what I believe why it is, because
it's very new.
It's where I found it was in the back, that if he spent as much time here in Northport as he did, then he had enough time to pull some stuff out.
Sure.
How he got into it, don't know, but he knows how to pick locks. Okay. And I was talking to Mark, and you can't seem to get any consistency in the timelines of when somebody accessed the storage. But he said 25th, 26th, 27th, and I said, well, 27th would have been you guys, and maybe the 26th or something. But there was no way I was in that storage unit on those dates. The other thing is that we were trying to find out where his Omega watch was, and he said, it was in a box at the foot of his bed. Well, we've cleaned out his room.
Sure.
So I gave a lot of that toy stuff to a friend of mine, and so I was going to go over there tomorrow to see if that watch was there, but we came across the Omega bag with the watch in it, which was in the storage room.
Yeah. So where was it at in the storage shed? Like all this stuff was in the storage shed together, or?
Yeah, I mean, were you there when they looked at? Okay, so you have the racks on the right. You have the racks on the right. And then there was a bit of a space you could walk through.
Okay, yep.
Okay, so it was back just to the left in the middle.
Oh, okay.
So he could have pulled some stuff out, buried it, and covered it back up, and no one would have been the wiser.
Sure.
So now that's when we couldn't figure out, trying to figure whether he accessed the storage unit or not, and what he was doing here for an hour and 15 minutes. Now with discovery of that and the Omega bag.
Sure, because I had them pull the records again from the storage unit, and it wasn't, like I said, I think I told you that last time I was here, January or February, whenever you went there, because of
2 weeks prior to that.
Sure, and that's all that they were able to see, so I don't know what Kissimmee has, or what because I gave them those records, so I don't know.
Yeah, he has the same records, because Mark was reviewing it. I said, look, I wasn't there the 25th, the 26th, or the 27th. One of those dates had to be you guys. No, you would have been you guys, because if they're going off my access code.
Yeah, and that's so the storage unit itself, like, it printed a bunch of numbers where it looks like it's access, but I was able to get them to filter it down to where your access, like their system creates logs where they just run checks on all the users randomly to make sure people are in good standing. And it was, the way it was presented to us was that those were access times, but that ended up not being the case. So that's definitely interesting. If maybe a gate was open then, or
Anyway, Deb says, I'm the one who's taking all the money with the dogs, and Chris is like, I could share with you the storage bills, $100K, $100,000 easy. So at this point, Chris begins to show the officer some kind of Stephan's electronics. Apparently we can only hear it. We can't see what they're doing. He's like, this one has like a video application to it. This one has the ish on it. And the officer's like, okay, what do you mean the ish? And they call it CP. We know it's supposed to be called CSAM. The officer has a great description description for it, actually. He's going to correct them by using that term CP. And some of it, yeah, I did drop the audio, so the raw will be on Patreon, but you know how YouTube can be sometimes. They've been pretty lenient though. So Deb is like, CP, and Chris is like, it has CP on it. And I didn't see it because I didn't watch it, but I just hovered the mouse over it. So you open up, there's regular directories and there's the subdirectories, and then you hover over the subdirectories. This made me sad. And it started listing titles and images, and he says Layla, he says a 5-year-old or something. And that really kind of made my heart drop. It just, I hope, like Deborah says here, what I'm hoping and praying is that they can find out where that crap came from and go after those people. That's why we were so determined to get you guys to get it. So they were like, come here, you know, we've been cleaning up the storage, we've been cleaning up Stephan's room, come get this crap. Chris just kind of hovered over stuff and saw it wasn't anything righteous and said, look, take this out of our house. Okay, I don't blame her for that. I do hope and pray too in Jesus that the people who created that crap, I hope they caught them. I know it was 35,000 images, but what's kind of funny or awkward or ironic in a way here is that Deb is like, okay, I want you to find where that crap came from and go after those people. I mean, okay, she already knows her son has been arrested for the crap he created, but she doesn't harp on that. You know, she doesn't give him as much of a hard time as she does other people. So that's my thing. It's almost like whoever's badly influencing my little boy, go after them. I don't know. Hopefully she does have compassion for all these child victims, you know, which I'm sure she's got to. I want to be fair to this woman. No matter how she feels about me, I want to be fair. The officer explains how he worked for the Internet Crimes Against Children. He said, look, people call it CP or whatever. To me, it's crime scene photos. I like that he kind of set them straight that way. It's just kids being brutally harmed, he said. So I like the way he put it, to like put it in perspective. Some of these laws, I know they have weird names like child performance of, you know, or child that, like, no wonder people don't like those names, because it's like, look, the child is not starring in this of their own free will. You know, get it straight. So the officer says, do you think this is from the computer tower itself? And Chris is like, yeah, I believe. Why it is. Deborah says it's very new. So that was disturbing too. Did they see the file dates? How did she know it was very new? I don't know. I hope they caught these people. I hope they just bust up. Every time I see one of those rings busted up and you see the mugshots, I'm like, oh, thank you. And I wish they could be rehabilitated. You hear about that guy, what, in Louisiana? I put it on Twitter. It was on TMZ. He's getting castrated. And I'm like, if only that would prevent these assaults from happening. But even that doesn't prevent it. At least he's doing 40 years, you know, that pedo. Different guy. Anyway, Chris is like, where I found it was in the back, that if he spent as much time here in Northport as he did, then he had enough time to pull some stuff out. So at this point, I guess Chris and Deb, none of us still know why Stephan made that trip to Northport. Did he visit the storage facility or not? Was he hanging out around his house trying to hit the Wi-Fi, trying to log in? Was he getting rid of evidence? What was happening? Chris is like, how he got into it, I don't know. You know, he knows how to pick locks. So he's saying Stephan knows how to pick locks for some reason. Chris says, I was talking to Mark and we can't seem to get any consistency in the timelines of when somebody accessed the storage, but he said, what, 25th, 26th, 27th. I said, well, 27th would have been you guys. And maybe the 26th or something, but there's no way I was in that storage room on those days. So Chris is saying, I wasn't in there. Maybe it was Stephan, but they still don't know. That's confusion. We'll talk about that more too, about those storage records. Chris talks about they've cleaned out Stephan's room. They couldn't find his Omega watch. They gave a lot of toys, Stephan's toys, to a friend. And Chris was going to go back to that friend and look for the watch. But then he found the Omega watch in the storage room somewhere in an Omega bag. So I don't know if Stephan knew he had put it in there or who put it in there, whatever. He's describing, Chris is like, there's racks on the right-hand side. There's a space you can walk through. And Chris says Stephan could have pulled some stuff out, like buried it and covered it back up, and no one would have been the wiser. So I'm like, are we still talking about the watch here? Or like, where did he have these external drives or whatever, jump drives? Anyway, Chris is like, what he was doing here for an hour and 15 minutes. Now with the discovery of that and the Omega bag, so there's still confusion about if Stephan visited storage or not. And Deb says, and I wasn't in there at all. So she is like do not get me caught in any kind of case. I don't blame Deb. I say all the time, I'm not catching a case for anybody.
So he called us this afternoon, and I didn't say anything. I said, hey, I'm in the process of returning this truck. He goes, truck? What was that? I said, I just cleared out the storage unit. Wasn't there a bit of a pause?
It was.
Yeah, there was a bit of a pause, and he said, oh, okay, that's interesting. Something like that. Yeah. So he didn't ask any questions, but now he's got to know that this stuff is at the house.
Sure.
But he doesn't know that you got it.
No, I know.
No, we can't have this.
No, absolutely, and that's no.
It's evidence.
Yeah, it's evidence. It's terrible things on it. And I know you guys are torn between. I can't imagine. Again, I'm a father. I can't imagine. It's a rock and a hard
You know
place.
you would. You know that you would give up that.
Oh, absolutely, 100%. I'm just saying, like emotionally.
I still love my son. I don't
my heart
care.
goes out to you guys.
I still
Absolutely.
love him, but I do not condone this shit.
No, absolutely. And everybody has their days in court too, so it's not, it's still America.
We can't go to court because we're going to be attacked.
You think?
Verbally, possibly physically.
Yeah. It's just a circus out there.
Well, one woman has already said, I'm going to come up
Have
there.
you guys had issues here yet?
Oh,
No, not
just on the
since,
phone.
not since the initial, I think it was Jordan Shen. Yeah, he was very nice. I met him the first day he showed up, so I really appreciate that. But no, not since the initial, but we're just waiting for that shoe to drop. We're thinking that when they finally release the information and arrest him, that all this attention will be deflected to her.
Sure.
And her family, and then a lot of it hopefully removed from us. But Stephan, I don't recall what he said exactly, but just his response, that his tone or what have you.
I said, I'm aware. I know that you did not kill her. I did. And he said, well, Mom, he says, yes, and there were a lot of other people involved.
Sure.
Yeah.
But he couldn't come out and say, oh, I didn't do it. He just.
Sure.
Because everything's being recorded.
But anyway,
that's what their jail calls.
And I wanted it that way, so the police could pick up on it. So I told Mark, I said, just listen to the phone call. And tomorrow we're going to try to have a conversation with them to convince him. Supposedly he's asked God for forgiveness.
Sure.
That if you've done that, then the next step is prove it. And tell the police the truth and get this over with.
Come out with it. Yeah.
We told him to quit falling on the sword, quit protecting her.
It's not worth it.
Her attorney put her in a mental hospital, so she could hide and she can't be questioned.
Sure.
Well, is that true? And especially in a murder case?
No, I mean, there's people have different rights to private, HIPAA and all those things that apply, but you can't just run away. We'll find you.
Can't be held responsible for her mental condition. Yeah. But she did it.
So Chris gets back to Stephan. He's talking about, he called us this afternoon and I didn't say anything. I said, hey, I'm in the process of returning this truck. And Stephan's like, truck? Well, like, what truck? And Chris says, I just cleared out the storage unit. And then he turns to Deb and is like, wasn't there a bit of a pause? And Deb was like, yeah, it was. So Chris is like, yeah, there was a bit of a pause. And he said, oh, okay, that's interesting. Something like that. Chris said Stephan didn't ask any questions, but he's got to know this stuff is at the house now, but he doesn't know that you've got it. And Deb is like saying, yeah, we can't leave this here. It's evidence. Deb says, we can't go to court. The officer's like, you'll have your day in court. Deb's like, we can't go to court because we're going to be attacked verbally, possibly physically. She starts talking about some woman or something. I don't know if she's trying to say she got a threat or a comment, but they cut each other off. Chris says, we're thinking that when they finally release the information and arrest Jen, that all of this attention will be deflected to her and her family and a lot of it removed from us. But Stephan, I don't recall what he said exactly, but just his response, that his tone or what have you, and Deb chimes in saying, I'm aware. I know that you did not kill her. I know Jen did. And he said, well, Mom, yes. And there were a lot of other people involved. Now, mind you, if you listen closely, we have not heard this call yet. We've heard later calls. One of them had the wrong date, I believe, in the file name. When you actually listened to it, it was different. We have not heard these initial calls, ones that I paid for so long ago. So maybe eventually they'll show up in the inbox one day, just like all this information showed up. You know, it can take a lot of back and forth. It can take a lot. I mean, that's why people sometimes, I don't like watermarking stuff. I don't like doing all this stuff, but that's why some of us, we get so over it, because if it's taken you an entire year and the docket and I paying nearly $300 for all this stuff, people are, oh, it's public record. Well, if it's public record, you go through and spend as much time and hard work and effort as we've done, back and forth for like a year. I know I have the email string to prove it and the American Express charge to prove it. You know, people just like, well, just why not release it to the world? It's like, I don't see you going through spending hundreds and hundreds of dollars and hours away from your family or away from your vacation to get all this work to put it up for someone to rip it. And not only just rip it, go put it on their channel, lie to their viewers and say, look what I sourced directly from police. You know, no, that's why we get so over this. That's my soapbox. Okay, at this point, Deb said, you know, she's blaming Jen. I know Jen did. You know, Jen killed her. And she's saying, Stephan said, well, Mom, yes. And there were a lot of other people involved. So I want to hear this call. That was my whole rant, is because I've paid for these calls. I've been waiting forever. Hopefully I'll get them. That's my point. Hopefully I'll get them first. Maybe these departments should just charge every single person the same, or just, I don't know, only give it to the people who literally do. I don't know. There's got to be a way. But that's my frustration with all of this, when people just think, you know, freedom of information does not mean it's free. Okay? That's my whole point. Deb says, but he couldn't come out and say, oh, I didn't do it, because everything's being recorded. It's such a line of BS. You know, Stephan's giving them a line of BS back then. They were waiting for Jen to be arrested. They think Jen was the major perpetrator, or at least especially Deb does. Stephan is playing games with his family. You know, he's like, okay, you know, yeah, Mom, go ahead and think Jen is the culprit, blah, 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 blah. But there's a lot of other people involved. I want to hear what Stephan actually says, because the way Deb hears something and receives it might not be the way he said it. We know the later calls he was saying, don't get carried away with the conspiracy theories. He said that later, but the earlier calls, he might have been more outright blaming Jen. I don't know. But Deb is claiming he couldn't come right out and say, oh, I didn't do it because everything's being recorded. That's the time you do say it. You know, that's the time you want to. If that were the truth, you'd shout it from the rooftops. You would be on a recorded line, like I'm recorded now, like you'd be saying, I did not do this. So it makes no sense what Deb is saying, but that's what she wants to believe. And Chris is saying, I wanted it that way so police could pick up on it. So I like the way he was questioning his son. And he told Mark, you know, that officer, I know it's the one I think that was interviewing Stephan. He told Mark, hey, just listen to the phone call. So back then they were hoping their son was, you know, innocent, trying to take the fall. They didn't want him to take the fall. So they were hoping the jail calls would kind of prove that. But Chris says tomorrow we're going to try and have a conversation with him to convince him. Supposedly he's asked God for forgiveness. I love the way Chris said this. Stephan supposedly asked God for forgiveness. So then if you've done that, the next step is to prove it and tell police the truth. Get this over with. So Chris is a straight shooter, like, look, Stephan, you're talking all this Bible stuff. You're yammering, you know, about God touching you or changing you, or I believe in him and please, what did he keep saying? Deliver me. I'm praying for God to deliver me. And Chris is like, basically, put your money where your mouth is. Put your money where your faith is. Put your actions where your faith is. Like they say, faith has to have feet. You know, you walk out what you believe. So just tell the truth. You know, stop adding all these little, oh, maybe it was this, Mom, maybe it was, you know, all these little hints and clues. Deb was like, we told him to quit falling on the sword for Jen. You know, she wants to believe her son was such a martyr, you know, which he wasn't. Quit protecting her. Her attorney put her in a mental hospital so she can hide and be questioned. Can't be held responsible for her mental condition, but she did it, Deb says. So Chris changes the subject again. I don't blame him still. This is an uncomfortable topic. I don't know. He just wants to talk kind of business or different things. He starts speaking to them about, you know, are they building a second downtown? You know, the officer is talking about, you know, Northport exploding.
So you're up in Welland Park?
Yeah, there's a substation out there. So that's where me and a couple other detectives are out there as well.
Oh my gosh.
That's where my office is. Yeah.
I see that they're talking about building a second downtown in the paper today. I don't know if that'll ever come to fruition. They're talking about building it out here.
I know. It's they're, you know, as soon as the whole Yorkshire area, especially how Northport's exploding. Whichever developer bites the bullet, builds the infrastructure, it's going to be.
I thought they were supposed to be opening up that exit ramp.
That's going to be a huge one too.
But when? I thought it was supposed to be last year.
That's all state funds and FHP. They're because it's all. What's that?
That's another question. They've got quite the little money scam going at that jail. They take 10% for processing what we put into his commissary, $2 a day for him being in jail, $5 to get a Tylenol, $10 to meet with his attorney, 21 cents a minute for the phone call, and whatever it takes for the initial price of the call.
You know what that means?
Crime doesn't pay.
You know what that means?
That means we get punished.
Crime doesn't pay.
I don't even work in that. There's criminal justice and within that's law enforcement, corrections, and the courts. I don't work the corrections side.
Well, I tell you, if you got any information on how I can get a duplicate title for that car so we can sell it, so we can fund him.
I would reach out to
attorney, and they won't give it. They won't let us get in to get it.
If not that way, there may be. I'd reach out to the civil court, to the South County one here, and just there's got to be a process. You know what I mean? As far as I'm sure there has to be. It may be something where you have to take litigation against your son, even though it's not going to go anywhere just to get the title. I don't know what the answer is.
It's paid for.
Can I still? Yeah, I got to write this stuff down real quick. And,
You got a pen?
yeah, I sure do. Do you mind if I set this here?
Go ahead.
What's the note? Do we know? Or I'll pop it up. That's all right.
Everything was wrapped up in that piece of paper.
Okay. And were they in here in the Ziploc bags like this too?
No, they were loose. They were wrapped up in this piece of paper. I transferred to the Ziploc bag.
Okay.
And it was in a drawer and a chest that had a sliding drawer or a tray on top of it.
Okay.
So if you opened up the drawer, you didn't see it. But then you.
And I can speak to just that night as well. We weren't necessarily looking for little devices. We're more focused on with her, medical stuff.
Recipe. Could be good.
Could be a good one. Is she a decent cook?
Yes.
Yeah.
Very select items, though.
Senior receipts.
And I don't know why he had two different driver's licenses, one with this address, one with Kissimmee, and what he was using for a driver's license.
Sure. We might have kept them open along.
You know how they say you never really know someone?
Sure.
We never saw this side of him, not ever.
No. And nobody. That's her too, right?
I guess. And he was not a spoiled mama's boy because I'm the disciplinarian. They blame everything on the mother for having him.
Sure.
It's my fault.
It's not your fault.
I don't know what that was for, but I guess it. That's the bad boy there.
This one is? No, this one, the little one, right?
Okay.
Did you happen to see this one too? What it contained, or no? Just
If it's there, it doesn't belong to us.
SanDisk. That's all right. I'll get it to the lab.
The stuff that's on here goes back to 2011.
To 2011. Yeah.
Wasn't happy to see that.
No.
You know, if she felt like she was being abused, of course she was being abused because she's not old enough to consent, but other than that, I think she was consensual. Only because of the way that she would snuggle up to him and rub him on the shoulder.
Yeah, I mean,
Maybe she did just get used to it. I don't know.
that's the unfortunate reality a lot of times. And I can't speak to this, but what I've seen, that's the unfortunate reality.
Yeah.
So Deb starts crabbing about the jail. They've got quite the money scam going on at that jail. Maybe part of it is Stephan scamming them. So they take 10% for processing what we put into his commissary, $2 a day for him being in jail. I have seen that. $5 to get a Tylenol. That could be true. $10 to meet with his attorney. Now, you guys got to tell me, is that true or not? I didn't know this. Maybe it's true. I need to look it up. But I was like, wait, do they really charge you $10 every time you need to meet with an attorney? That sounds real shady. Everyone is entitled to, even if you're indigent, you can file indigent status. You don't have any money. Everyone's entitled to due process a public defender. So why would someone be charged $10 to meet with his attorney every time? Did Stephan give them a line of bull just to get more money? I don't know. I got to look that up. 21 cents a minute for phone calls, blah, blah, blah. Deb, she's just spewing all her feelings to this poor hapless officer who just showed up to get the electronics. Deb is crabbing about she needs the power of attorney. She needs to get there to Stephan, a duplicate title for the car to sell it in order to fund Stephan. Do you think this officer who used to fight for children in the Internet Crimes Against Children department, do you think he really cares about, Deb, let me try and help you find Stephan's title to his car so you can sell it, so you can fund that guy? Anyway, they're looking at stuff. They're talking about some kind of recipe. The cop is like, is someone a decent cook? Chris says, yeah, selective, but I don't know was he talking about Deb or Stephan? I don't know. Chris doesn't know why Stephan had 2 different driver's licenses. And Deb, it's a lot of spaces in there. You hear the officer doing stuff, and Deb is like, you know how they say you never really know someone? We never saw this side of him, not ever. And then, I can tell a lot of it. She's kind of going off on some stuff I've said when I created that thumbnail. It's like mama's boy, and she's like, and he was not a spoiled mama's boy because I'm the disciplinarian. They blame everything on the mother for having him. It's my fault. I don't know what that was, but I guess it was redacted. So I've never blamed Deborah nor Chris for any of Stephan's actions. Maybe she's talking about the totality of what she's heard on YouTube or what other people have said, who knows? And Deb goes, that's the bad boy there. And the officer's like, this one? And Chris is like, no, this one, the other little one. So they must be talking about jump drives. Deb is just like, look, it didn't belong to us. Chris says the stuff that's on here goes back to 2011. 2011. Wasn't happy to see that. Isn't that ironic? That's the same year Maddie was born. So obviously, Stephan was into the inappropriate pedal stuff, at least looking at it, at least since 2011. That's just the proof they found. Who knows how long it's been going on? Who knows who knew? But in terms of, that's when Maddie was born. And when he met Jennifer later, if Stephan had been feeding his mind with all this horrible stuff, he meets Jennifer, oh, they're best friends, they're at work, whatever. And Jen is the one that pressures him or asks him to hook up. And he goes, yeah. Is it just because he learned that she had this beautiful little daughter that he could, mistreat? Oh, this is the point where it'll probably anger people. Deb says, if she, and then she must say Maddie, if she felt like she was being abused, and of course she was being abused because she's not old enough to consent, so she gives that caveat. but then she sticks her foot in her mouth. But other than that, I think she was consensual, only because of the way she would snuggle up to him and rub him on the shoulder. Oh my God, Deb, don't. Maybe she's trying to understand here. Deb says maybe they just get used to it. I don't know. Because the officer, you can tell he's like not wanting to correct her harshly, but he's like, yeah, I don't know. Perhaps she's trying to understand the psychology of it. And I was trying to think of that too. I'm sure victims get so confused. I've read so many stories about victims being mistreated, and it's even confusing when their bodies might react in the way a body normally reacts. When you engage in such behavior, that doesn't mean it was wanted. That doesn't mean it was consensual. Of course, Maddie could not consent, but it's almost, I just hate the inference where part of Deb, to me, it's almost like saying, well, she flirted with him. And, she did not say that. No, I'm putting words in her mouth, but that's the inference. Because remember when Stephan tried to blame, I guess, Jen and Maddie, like, I'd come out the shower and, they'd be right there and they'd be talking about my body. And Jennifer called it the electric complex. And all that is trying to put the onus on some child who did not ask ever, ever, ever to be in that situation. I wish Maddie was raised in a loving home with people who knew how to take care of her, how to show proper affection to a child. Like, there's nothing wrong with a child being affectionate with a parent, like hug, love. Some stuff gets twisted when all this horrible, evil stuff is introduced. It was probably so confusing to Maddie where the appropriate line is. It's just sad. It's just very, very sad. Maddie being taken advantage of at such a young age, being groomed, not protected, all of this going on. So what? I could understand it if she did hug Stephan or touch his shoulder, because where was the line drawn? She was not taught appropriate interactions between a dad, he was nowhere her dad or stepdad, but a dad and daughter, or, when it's wholesome, when it's right, when it's God designed, it's beautiful. When people pervert that the way Stephan did, it's wrong.
I just keep thinking of what would have caused that reaction. He was killed. Was it accident? Was it deliberate?
Unfortunately, without them telling the truth, we'll never know. And I mean, all parties involved, and that's just the reality to it. I need some cheaters here soon.
He did give the nod to the fact that basically blackmailed him to move her body.
And I'm sure, like I said, I don't know any of the information that Kiss Me has,
Yeah.
Stick Pro. But I'm sure that they appreciate your guys' help and openness.
Well, they sure didn't get their little butts down here to pick this stuff up.
Why they have?
That's it.
They still haven't told us when he's getting his work phone back, and
I haven't asked them anytime soon because I'm not going to be sitting for it.
Yeah, maybe I can put it in the mail for you though too. I'll have to fire unless you got the F12. It's not really transfer. I don't know how that'll work. If you can't go up there to get it.
well, basically he doesn't want people knowing he's the one coming to get it.
Oh, for sure.
He doesn't want his face on camera so somebody can find him. And you don't blame him.
No, not at all. Can't knock it. Not one bit. This was just the hard drive, right?
Yep. We don't know what's on it because we haven't put it anywhere.
Sure.
Yeah, I was really surprised to hear when I called Mark about the USB drive, and he says, by the way, did you know the hard drive is missing in it? I go, no. Didn't bother to look.
Yeah, I took it and put it in a box, called them, and they came down.
And so you didn't know the hard drive was missing?
No, I didn't even bother. I called them up and I said, look, I have this. I'm going to tape it up and keep it secured for you guys and let your lab do what you guys need to do. So
they said no hard drive, which explains why they decided to keep
computer was off.
Yeah. I thought, I saw that too.
Off to keep it cool.
Keep it cool. It's a gaming computer. It's hot, But,
and I said, well, that's strange because I felt fairly certain Sunday morning he was on the computer. So he must have taken it with him and then decided that, maybe not so smart to be driving around with this.
Sure.
He told us he's experiencing PTSD. You don't do that if you mean to kill somebody.
No.
You do it when you see somebody killed and you've been put in a bad position.
And I'm a big believer in like you guys said too, like put your money where your mouth is and come out with the truth. But I think that it always, it goes full circle kind of thing.
These people who are calling into YouTube, if they had spent as much time in school studying as they did putting together a tube shoot of lies, I don't even know who they were talking about. Do I yell? Oh yeah, I yell. I don't scream, I yell.
Rick's like, he's got some hot news.
When did you recover this stuff?
Say around noon.
Around noon. 100 hours. I apologize.
Well, I called Mark. So this was recovered at noon, but this was recovered
earlier.
Yeah, let me tell you.
I'll just put on here hard drive.
March 19th.
Okay.
I notified Mark. Yeah, March 19th. I notified him March 19th at 5:52 p.m.
Yep, and then you're right there in that little tiny box. They don't make them big, right here in the release by. I know. Make it hard. Take out the sheer copy too.
Press hard.
Yep. They bleed.
Thank you, Bill.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you. Thanks for reaching out to him too. I'm surprised he didn't reach out to me back in March to come grab this stuff, especially you let him know there was the stuff on it. And,
we'll figure out how to get to it.
Okay. So I can't answer for any other. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah.
I do.
You got any questions for me or anything? Or no?
Later, Gator.
Absolutely. If you need anything, seriously, we're a call away. If I can help you, I will.
Yeah, I've got your number, so in case something comes up, I'll give you a shot.
Absolutely. All right.
Thanks, Mike.
Yep. You too. It's 18:01 ending recording.
And so Deb is saying, I just keep thinking, what would have caused that reaction when Maddie was killed? Was it an accident? Was it deliberate? She's still thinking Jen went off and somehow offed Maddie. So she's like, what could have happened? I give, again, Deb grace because I see maybe it's in the way she's speaking, her way of trying to understand what happened. But at the same token, I wish she was a lot more victim focused. Like, oh my goodness, what did this poor girl suffer? How long has she been enduring that? Not, well, it's kind of probably consensual because, she would snuggle up to him. She would rub his shoulder. Like, no, just no. Deb said Stephan did give a nod to the fact that Jen basically blackmailed him to move her body. And it's like the cop is just going, oh, that's horrible. Oh, he's probably thinking, get me out of here. Anyway, he's being compassionate too. He sounds wonderful. Did Jen really blackmail Stephan in any way? Part of me was thinking, even if she did blackmail him, like he probably claimed to his parents, which is probably a complete lie, but if she blackmailed him because she had stuff on him, what would stop him from rolling on her now? He's been convicted of the worst crimes. So it's one thing if Jen had blackmailed Stephan, like, I know all the stuff you have on the hard drives, or I know whatever. If she were holding something over his head and he hadn't been caught, I could understand that. But after he'd been caught, nothing would stop him from rolling on her if that was the truth. So the stuff he's spewing doesn't make sense. So they're talking about the missing hard drive. I think previously Chris had given maybe a gaming tower or whatever to the cops, but he didn't realize there was no hard drive in there. So who knows if Stephan took it out or when or where, if he destroyed it, whatever. And maybe I don't know, maybe Stephan did get into the storage unit when people didn't know about it. Maybe he destroyed more evidence, I don't know. Thank God they got him on what they got him on and that he ended up entering a guilty plea and pleading no contest to the murder. Like he always has to be Mr. Mysterious. I'll just, plead no contest. Just like Koberger, I'm just going to stand silent. It annoys me when people do that. Just be a man, be a woman, whatever, and just say it. Just stop with all that. If you're so big and bad and bold as to take someone's life and you want to be this whatever notorious person or infamous, or even if it's an accident or whatever, might as well just tell the truth. So Deb is still like, he told us he's experiencing PTSD. You don't do that if you mean to kill somebody. You do it when you see somebody killed and have been put in a bad position. So then she goes on to the people calling into some YouTube live shows, I guess. These people who are calling into YouTube, if they had spent as much time in school studying as they did putting together some tube shoot of lies, I don't even know who they're talking about. So maybe she's talking about Stephan's friends calling in, talking about him. On the same token, she's saying she didn't really know Stephan. She didn't really know who he was. She never knew this stuff. But then at the same flip of the coin, she's like, these people calling in, I don't know who they're talking about. It's lies. So you can't have it both ways. But this is when Rick calls. You hear the phone. No. That must be Rick's ringtone. Deb says, Rick. Chris says, Rick's phone. Maybe he's got some hot news. So that proves, as I understand it, that might be Stephan's older brother, Mystery Man. I don't know who he is. I have not sleuthed him or anything, so whatever. That's the whole thing. There are some documents that go along with this, so I'll probably upload all that, the raw audio file too, so you guys can hear it, especially the points I took out, and I'll start uploading the raw videos too, and finish off the next section, which we're reading in the Koberger files. And then as we get more Sterns case stuff, and of course other cases, it's not easy. Let me tell you, the Christina Formella case, I've been trying, I paid for a lot of documents and then they just kind of stopped responding to me. I was kind of near Downers Grove, Illinois, not too long ago. I might have driven through there. I was like, should I go in this court and try and get the paperwork? Because when I emailed them, they're like, well, something like if you can't get it through our system, then you have to come into the courtroom. So it's not always easy to get this documentation. That's sometimes why we're protective over it, because I hate to see us work so hard for a long time, filling out the right FOIAs, doing all the right stuff, taking all this stuff down, having the equipment to process it, and have people, I'm very grateful. Thank you so much for all the people who support and give us the thanks, the memberships, the support. Just watching supports me to help me to be able to afford to buy this stuff. But yeah, it did get on my nerves a lot when people would take it and lie to their viewers about where they sourced it. Thank God for the people who are honest. I don't even necessarily really ask for shout outs or links or back or anything. I just don't like seeing people, immediately take it from my Patreon or my YouTube and then go to their viewers and say, guys, look what I paid for. I got it directly from police and I worked so hard. My assistants worked so hard for this. You guys need to give. And it's like, yeah, don't do that. That's my only beef. But yes, the whole point is to get this stuff, to share the victims' stories, the victims' plight, to see the victims get justice. That's what's central. And also central is Hebrews 10, 4-7. I was like, oh Lord, give me something about the blood of Jesus to get through this one. Okay, because it is impossible for the blood of bulls and goats to take away sins. Therefore, when Christ came into the world, he said, sacrifice and offering you did not desire, but a body you prepared for me. In burnt offerings and sin offerings you took no delight. Then I said, here I am, as it is written about me in the scroll. I have come to do your will, God. So thank God Jesus came. And thank God we can call on his name in prayer. And I do pray for all these people impacted by crimes. You never know how any of us would react if put in Chris or Deborah's position. So that's why there's a lot of forgiveness. I hope there's a lot of the mind of Christ transformation. Even in the people, I have a heart for those who do go to jail, do go to prison for their crimes too. I want them to be changed as well, so that Stephan won't be running game on his parents for like the next 10 or 20, 30 years, however long they live, 10, 20 years, trying to get money out of them, still, leaving it elusive in the air. Jennifer actually did this, but I'm serving this time for her. Like, just stop it. Like, if you really are saved, like they say, tell the truth, shame the devil, just the truth will set you free. So I hope he does that at some point. So stay tuned. We'll keep gathering evidence and we'll keep going from there. Thank you so much for watching, for all your support, all your kind comments everywhere. Take care.